Good evening, everyone. This is your girl, Mandy Cam, back with you with Real Christians, Real Conversations. And today, my guest is Dr. Dakira Watkins. This month, the month of September, is Alopecia Awareness Month. And we're just going to take you all on a little journey. So sit back and have a conversation with us. Hey, Dr. D.
Hey, Mandy.
So, being that this is Alopecia Awareness Month, tell us a little bit about your journey. Like, when did you discover that you were suffering with alopecia, and what was the determining factor to just make you say, okay, I'm just going to cut it all off and I'm just going to be footloose and fancy free?
That's a loaded question. Oh, my word. Okay, so first of all, thank you for the opportunity to share this very sensitive topic. There are folks who struggle with alopecia, who wear wigs and weaves to cover up alopecia. And so to make the decision to go, I don't like to say bald, I like to say I'm divinely crowned. So to make the decision to go and just embrace my crown, it was definitely a journey. It really started as a young person. I'm from a family of cosmetologists, right? So grandmother, mother, and aunt. I got my hair done every weekend, sometimes during the middle of the week. And, you know, for us as women, you know, your hair is your crown and glory. Yes, it is. And even in the Bible, it talks about a woman's hair is her crown and glory. And then there's even reference to scripture about when your hair falls out as a woman. And so I dealt with a lot of shame and frustration. But it started with just like the size of like a penny, right in the crown of my head. And I just thought, oh, well, maybe I just had a bad hair experience, a hair treatment, because I colored my hair. And that little small turned into the size of like a quarter. And then I had to stop and say what was happening. I was experiencing a divorce from my first marriage. I was in graduate school at the time. And it was the combination of the stress and then what I didn't know was happening at the time. But alopecia is an autoimmune disorder. So if you find yourself getting sick frequently and you don't understand why, it could be something happening with your autoimmune system. And so that's what was happening. And alopecia is a condition where your autoimmune system basically turns on itself and it attacks your hair follicles. And so there are several types of alopecia, which I'll be happy to talk to you about.
Wow, that's interesting. So what made you know that it was the alopecia and not stress from the things that you were going through? So did you go to a doctor and the doctor diagnosed and say, hey, this is what this is? Or how did that happen? That's
exactly what happened. When it started to get bigger and I couldn't control it, they call it a burnout after it gets to a certain point and then it stops. So I hadn't reached the burnout and I just kept noticing it was getting bigger and bigger. So I tried to cover it up with wigs and weaves, and I finally went to the dermatologist. And that's a journey. So I went to the dermatologist and I experienced everything from taking medicine to getting shots in my head, hoping that the hair would grow back, and it never did. It just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I just got really creative with wigs and weaves and trying to cover it all up. And then I just made the decision, to be really honest, how I got to be divinely crowned, it was vanity. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. It was two things. One, I was tired. I was tired of always running late to get to places because I was always scared that you could see my tracks or that my weave was going to show or my wig wasn't on right. So I would be habitually late. I mean, you even see, I'm late for church sometimes, right? And it was because I was at home struggling with my wig and my weave. And so that was one motivating factor. The other was I'm a woman of a certain age, and I was hot all the time. And so I got tired of being hot with all that wig and weave. And then the third was the ultimate motivating factor, is I was going on vacation. And for 15 years, because this journey started years ago. Like I said, it went from here to now, like the whole top of my head, I can't grow hair there. I have what is called alopecia areata. There's also traction alopecia that women get from pulling their hair back into a ponytail or braids, like you see women losing their edges. That's like traction alopecia from pulling in the same repetitive way. But anyway, I was going on a cruise and I wanted to get in the water. And that is the God's honest truth. I have been only going up to the water to right here for like years, and I love to swim. And I said, this is it. I am not going to continue to live in bondage. And I decided to get free. And I went to the hairdresser one Saturday morning. I didn't say anything to Joseph because I had been contemplating it. And I just went to the hair salon and I told my hairdresser, I said, I think it's time.
So how did, by you not telling your husband, what was his reaction? What was your children's reaction when they finally saw the finished product?
So I actually called my best girlfriend before I called anybody else, and I FaceTimed her. And when I called her and I was like, hey, and we started talking, she just started screaming. She was so happy. So she, you know, the way people respond also helps you through that process. And so she was so excited and so just overjoyed and reassuring. And so when I got home, I didn't say anything. I just like walked through the door. And I remember Joseph stood there. He just looked at me. And he walked over to me and he kissed me on my head.
Oh. And
he said, congratulations. You know, he was very just affirming because he's seen the struggle. I mean, he's a really good man. He would help me take out my weed.
Oh, I love it.
So he knows the struggle and the shame. I will never forget before we got married, and I had to tell him I had alopecia. And I said, if this man can accept this, then he is really the one for me. And when I told him, he was like, that's it. Okay.
Okay, so you spoke about the part in the Bible where it talks about hair loss. Mm-hmm. Can you give us a little bit more information or go into a little detail about that part?
No. And that's because it's negative. And so I chose not to embrace that because I can't even quote the exact scripture, but it talks about a woman's hair when it falls out, you know, that it is not a good thing. And we already live in a world that condemns women and judges women all the time by our appearance, body shaming and all that. So I refuse to even be able to quote that. But what I do stand on is Psalms 119 and 14, 139 and 14, that simply says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am a marvelous work, and my soul knows that. And so because of that scripture, I say that to myself. I don't worry about the other things because I know that God has beautiful plans for me. I know I'm one of his favorite people. So,
absolutely. So I see that you brought some material with you today. So, and I know that you are an author. So tell us about the books that you brought with you today.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. So through this process, you know, we're taught here that our tests are not for us, but they're for a testimony. And so during this journey, I was struggling to find like resources that supported me in my experience. And so the first thing that I did was I created a journal, right? So this journal is called Adjusting My Crown, a self-discovery journal for your hair loss journey. And it's just simple statements where you can start your day adjusting your crown by setting the atmosphere with scripture and affirmations. And then you close your day with gratitude, and it gives you spaces to write about what did you learn today about yourself, what good things happened to you on this day. I'm proud of how I handled whatever that circumstance is. And so that was the first product and book that I created because it was just a nice, safe place to be able to write. And then when I got to the other side, so this was the Adjusting Your Crown. And what this also did is it gave me a new skill set. It made me learn something new. I was able to turn my pain into a new passion, which is creating products. The second book was this one, that I'm Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, and it's a coloring book and a journaling experience, and I made it in honor of Alopecia Awareness Month. So every page has an affirmation or a scripture on it to help encourage the reader. But then it went to another level because there's an entire alopecia awareness community. all across the country. There's a big conference that happens every year. So I joined a writing group. And so we are Amazon bestsellers, right?
Hey.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Nice.
So the name of this book is Baldness with Boldness and Unmasking Alopecia and Revealing Resilience. And so one of the things that happened to me through this experience as well is that I was able to tap into, yes. Well, that's the other thing nobody tells you about. When you don't have hair, you perspire. I mean, there's so many different things that happen as well. But anyway, so we wrote a book together, and so now we're Amazon bestsellers as well.
Nice. I love it. So they're able to get all 3 of the books on Amazon, or how, if somebody that's watching would like to get the books to read it, even the coloring book just for therapy, where can they get them? All on Amazon?
Absolutely, they can get them on Amazon, but I would prefer if they would reach out directly to me. They can get them from me on Divinely Crowned by Dakira on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome. So what advice or what would you tell somebody who's coming behind you who is struggling with that? I don't want to cut my hair off. I'm losing hair here and there. I'm just going to stick to the wigs and weaves. What advice would you give them to give them that confidence to be boldness with baldness?
So I would encourage them to do what makes you happy. There is nothing wrong at all with wearing wigs and weave. You get to where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. But what I would encourage you is to go to the doctor, to make sure that you make the investment in your health and wellness so that you can find out exactly what type of alopecia you may have and if there's any other medications that you need to help with your autoimmune system. I think that's vitally important.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you so much for sitting on the couch with us.
Thank you.
And that was very informative. Make sure you guys check her out on Amazon or reach out to her via website to purchase all 3 of her books. We want her to sell out. That has been our time. We will see you guys next time. Make sure you tune in every Thursday at 7 p.m. for Real Christians, Real Conversations. Bye.